Hey guys, it's Elisa, not Alyssa, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 ways in which Italians suck at technology. Now, before we begin, I have to make a disclaimer so I don't receive a million of the same comment. So, I'm a Canadian living in Italy. I've been living here for the past 2 years. I love Italy. I'm obsessed with Italian. I teach Italian. It's like my whole channel is dedicated to how much I love Italian and Italy. So don't come for me. Every country has pros and cons. This just happens to be one of Italy's cons. Also, I'm obviously generalizing because this is based on my personal experience. So this is based on the perspective of a Canadian living in Italy. This doesn't mean all parts of Canada are the way I'm used to, and it doesn't mean that all parts of Italy are like the place where I live. This is my experience. Okay, now we can start. So we're gonna go over 5 examples of this, and then I'm gonna tell you about the reasons why I think this is the way it is, which I think is pretty interesting. So stay with me, we'll get to it. Now, number 1, nobody knows when anything is open or closed. So in Canada, when you want to go somewhere and you're not totally familiar with it, you might go on Google Maps and check the grocery store, pharmacy, or whatever, and check the hours so you can make sure that it's not closed when you get there. This is something that's super convenient, obviously. So being Canadian, it's obviously something that I'm used to and I've just kind of taken for granted. So coming to Italy, I noticed that either there are no hours or the hours are wrong all the time. So let's take an example from this past Sunday. I sent my boyfriend to go get groceries. So this grocery store does have a profile on Google Maps, but on that profile, it said they close, I can't remember what time, 5 o'clock or 9 o'clock p.m. It doesn't matter. The point is he went at 1 o'clock and they were closed, but the previous Sunday they were open. So he goes there. There was like a security guard there or something, and he's like, oh yeah, we close at 1 o'clock every 4th Sunday of the month. Like, what? That's so random. How is anyone supposed to know that unless they make that mistake? Like, why do you wait for people to make a mistake? Why don't you just make it obvious that that's the case by adjusting your hours on Google? The exact same thing happened to my friend Elisa. You guys might know her. Her channel's called Roam Inside, and she posted this on her story last week, I think, where she went to the pharmacy, and again, it was closed, but they said they were open. The thing is, now things are even worse because of quarantine and stuff, a lot of things are closed, so nobody knows what's open and what's not open or when they're open. Before, it was bad to begin with. Like, it's always been bad, but now with the quarantine, like, it's even worse. I don't know. I just feel like it doesn't take that much effort to, like, adjust the hours so that thousands of people cannot make a mistake. But that's just me. So that's the first way they suck at technology. They could use technology to their advantage to make sure that people are happier with their store. The thing is, if you go to the store and it's closed and it shouldn't have been closed because they could have easily changed the hours, you're going to associate negative feelings with that place. So you're making your customers not angry, but you're kind of associating negative emotions with shopping at your store. So like, just adjust your hours. I don't get it. So that's the first kind of inconvenience or kind of annoying thing related to technology in Italy, where they don't use it very well. Now, number 2. Businesses rarely have websites, and when they do, they're usually ugly as hell. This surprises me a lot because it's something I kind of always took for granted. To me, you have a business, therefore you have a website. So it kind of baffles me that YouTubers, even when they're small, have websites, but actual established businesses in Italy don't. So 6 or 8 months ago or something, I was looking for a music school because I wanted to take singing lessons, and I could not for the life of me find a music school in my area because as a Canadian, my instinct is to go on Google and search music school in Italian, obviously, and try to find a music school where I can sign up or some information like how much do lessons cost or whatever, just more information about it. And the information was just so limited. Again, as I said before, even when companies do and businesses do have websites, they're so ugly. It's like, I feel like in this way, Italy is kind of 20 years behind Canada because all these websites look like they're from 2005. Now, obviously, not all businesses have crappy websites. A lot of them have websites that are just fine. But as a whole, compared to North America, the quality is very different. Another example, about a year ago, I wanted to sign up at a gym. I wanted to start going into the gym. So what do? I go on the internet and I look up gym, and then I look up my city name, and I couldn't find anything. So in both these cases, I'm pretty sure I found both of these places through Facebook, which is kind of strange. Like, you should have a Facebook page in my opinion, but I feel like you should have a website so that people could find it more quickly. But anyway, that's another way in which Italians don't use technology to their advantage. And then when they do use it, sometimes they do it poorly. Number 3, you can't use your credit card everywhere. So I think this is something that is slightly improving, at least since I got here, which was about 2 years ago. But as a general whole, you kind of always want to have cash on you because you never know when a place is not going to have the machine for your debit card or your credit card. But this is something I'm just really used to as a Canadian. Like, I never carry cash in Canada. Ever. Like, there's such rare cases in which I would carry cash in Canada. I can just use my card everywhere. I don't have to think about it. But here I always have to make sure to keep going to the bank and withdrawing money. And it's just something I'm not used to. I just rely on the card because I've gotten used to it, and it's been that way kind of forever for me. So it's definitely something that I'm not used to. Number 4, buying a computer for some reason is really complicated in Italy. I'm really not sure why. So I had to buy a kind of powerful computer for a work thing. It's a long story. So I walk into a computer shop and I'm expecting to see something like Best Buy. Now, to be fair, I'm not in a big city, and I'm sure there are places like this in big cities in Italy. I'm really not sure because I've never lived in one. I live in a kind of small city. I walk in expecting something like Best Buy. So I expect to see some computers that are already built and everything's kind of set up, and you kind of just pick what you want unless you want something custom. But I walk into the computer store and what do I see? Like, kind of nothing. In this place, there weren't any actual computers that you could just buy. There were just parts. Computer parts. Again, this could be something specific to where I live, but I just found that really strange. I'm like, wait, what if I were someone who doesn't know anything about computers and I just want to go walk in, pick something up and leave. It's like, no, you have to like order it from the other side of freaking Europe. And then now, to be fair, I was ordering a very powerful computer. So that makes sense that I would probably need to order stuff, but I didn't expect to have to order stuff from the other side of Europe. Like some parts of that computer I had to order from. It was like the last piece in all of Europe. I don't even know how that's possible. Again, not everyone's gonna have this experience because not everyone needs a powerful computer. Then with my laptop, when I had to order it from the Apple website, if you wanted to customize anything about it, you had to wait like a month or something for it to arrive. Because I feel like if you order something online in Canada, that they would have a bunch of versions available. I'm not sure about that, but I just feel like getting a computer or getting anything is just much more difficult here. And I find that it's harder to find a salesperson here who really knows their stuff well. Now, the guy where I live knows his stuff, but he knows his stuff because it's a hobby, not just his work. This is what I've been told anyway. This is not my opinion. This is what I've been told. Italians just aren't generally, as a whole, like the average person, aren't as obsessed with technology as North Americans are generally. Number 5. Nobody can use Skype. And I know that seems like kind of a very specific example, but what I mean by that is I feel like I have to explain to Italians how to use things that to me are easy because I'm used to them. The reason I use Skype as an example is because that's the program I use to teach online, which, by the way, if you want to take lessons with me in English or Italian, you can email me and I'll give you more information. I've noticed with my English speaking students, the only time I've ever had to explain how to use Skype to them or I also use Google Docs. Like the only time I've ever had to explain to them is if they're above 50 and they don't use technology in their job at all. Like they just have no use for it. That's fine. But in Italy, I've noticed that I have to explain it to people who are my age, people in their mid 20s or 30s, or it's just a younger age of people that generally I've had to explain how to use stuff more. So I just personally found this a general trend with the average person that technology is not as natural for them. So those are the 5 examples that I've experienced for why Italians kind of suck at technology, in my opinion. Now the question is, why? Why are Italians not quite as natural with technology as we are as North Americans? I think the reason for this is because Italy is a country focused on the past because they have a really long, important, deep, rich history and culture and all this stuff. So they are naturally a country more focused on the past because they have a lot to learn to understand why they are the way they are. Who Italians are stems a lot from their history and from their culture. So as I've said in previous videos, every city has like a dish and an accent, a dialect, and all these specific little traditions. So their history and culture is very important to them. Whereas North America, our culture is not very deep because we don't have a really long history. What does it mean to be Canadian or American? It's kind of a hard question to answer. I feel like in the States are kind of more unique, like they have more differences, but in Canada, I feel like each place isn't that different. Obviously, there are differences, but they're not as different as they are in a European culture. So because countries like Canada and the United States are newer countries, we're not countries that we're not that focused on the past. We're more focused on the future. And again, neither of these are good or bad things necessarily. They're just different. And just from a Canadian perspective, they're unexpected for me and I guess kind of annoying. So I think that's why we're a bit better with it naturally on average, and Italians are a little bit worse because they're kind of focused on different things. Now, I don't have any evidence for this, but I'm sure that maybe in school we were more, I don't know, maybe we had more computers in our classrooms. I'm pretty sure Italians also had computers, but maybe we used them a bit more. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it also just depends on my city. Maybe it's because I'm from, not a big city, I'm from Ottawa. Maybe the city I'm in Italy being smaller affects this, but I speak to people all over Italy, and this is kind of a trend that I've noticed. Now, I might also be a bit of an exception just because my dad works in electronics and my brother studied computer science. So whenever I didn't know how to do something, my brother was there to teach me how to do it, and it just became natural for me. I was on the computer all the time. Not too much, but like I spent a decent amount of time on the computer. And so because I did it from when I was young, I got used to it. Also, I think another really important thing is that because Italy as a country generally doesn't really use technology to its advantage the same way that we do in North America, Italians themselves don't request it, I guess. Like they probably don't ask businesses as much as we do to do those things. And yes, I'm sure it annoys them, but I feel like for us, we're used to it and we demand it. Whereas here, I think they're used to things not being the most not necessarily technologically advanced. It's just using technology to their advantage in terms of businesses and things like that. And so Italians are used to it, and therefore they don't really demand things to change or something. That could be another reason for it, is that everyone's used to it here. Whereas in North America, we're not used to it. So those are the 5 ways in which Italians suck at technology, in my opinion. And the reasons why I think that is. Now, again, this isn't like, it doesn't mean that North America is better than Italy. You guys know, if you've been subscribed to me for a while, that I love Italy. I have a whole video on why I love Italy. My entire channel is dedicated to that. So I'm not saying that Italy sucks. I love Italy, but Canada has flaws too. They're just different types of flaws, which we could get into if you guys are interested. I wanted to give a special thank you to Carlos Q, Jason G, and Jordan S for being my first 3 patrons on my channel. I revamped my Patreon. I added to the tiers. For example, there's definitely going to be a longer cut of this video that is going to go on Patreon first. So they've already seen this video. I generally shorten them a bit for YouTube. I also post some bonus content on there. I post some behind the scenes things, some little extra things here and there. It's a fun little place. So if you want to support my channel and get something in return, get some extra help with language questions, get answers before anyone else, things like that, then please go ahead and go over to my Patreon page. It's a fun little family, and I invite you to be a part of it. If you're interested in taking lessons with me in English or Italian, you can email me and I will give you more information. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, comment on it, and subscribe. It really helps the channel a lot to do all of those things, so I really appreciate it. If you're practicing Italian, make sure you watch the Italian version of this video. And that's all. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.